Hey guys, welcome to the MOMTRUTHS podcast.
We don't usually do this intro like this, but I like that she's doing it like this.
I do, but then I say I'm Kat.
Yeah, no, I do like this.
I'm Kat.
That you're like an announcer. Welcome to the Kat Nat MOMTRUTHS podcast.
I'm Nat, and this is Kat.
Yeah.
And we are so excited because we love having. No. Actually, I'm going to be honest.
Phoenix, be quiet.
Yeah, I love that. See, this is so good. That is the best.
I'm going to be honest. Our team said, do you want to have guests on your podcast? And we said, no, we don't want guests on our podcast. And then we started finding some people that really, really intrigued us. And we had such a good time with
Yes.
it. We were like, we will be open-minded
to having guests on our podcast.
So for this podcast, guys, it was inevitable. And I don't know if that's the word. It was undeniable that we wanted to have these two guests on our podcast, not only because we can relate to their stories, we have so much to talk about, but we were on their podcast and we felt like we could talk over cocktails for 7 hours and then rebook a brunch the next day. Not that we can go to brunch because we have 7, 8, 9, 10 children between us. But in the meantime, we thought that we could do this podcast with them and talk about all of the things that relates to all of us and have a really good time. You two ladies are obviously an inspiration, from being women to mothers and everything in between. So guys, we'd like to introduce our guests. Could you guys actually?
I love when Nat gets on a roll. I just get to sit here, and sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm not.
Where is this going?
All right, here's the thing. How about, can you guys do us a quick number and tell us who you are and what you do?
Oh Lord.
Well,
Roxy,
sure.
Roxy, you want to go first?
Okay. Well, hello, everybody out there. I am Roxy Manning, and one half of the Women on Top podcast with Miss Tammin Sursok. We have a podcast that we really just talk about everything. We shoot the shit, we hang out, we have some wine like we're having today. We just have a good time, and we're just excited to be here. I'm thrilled.
I love it.
Yes, I'm Tammin Sursok. You might know me from shows such as, that sounds really creepy. I think a lot of people in the US know me from Pretty Little Liars. I played the blind girl in the show. No, I can actually see. People get very confused that I do have my sight. I have been in many different TV shows and movies over the last 17 years. I'm an Aussie. I was born in South Africa. That's how my parents sound, so I can say that. And I have a social media platform that talks about the things that you do. I have a blog called Bottle and Heels, which is all about motherhood, unfiltered motherhood. We have a podcast, obviously, Women on Top. Our mission is to make women feel less alone and seen, and create a forum and a platform where people can, you know, again, shoot the shit and talk about all the things and all the messy parts about motherhood, which there's a lot of that they don't tell you about when you have your first baby.
Wait, before we go any further, I have to say how we connected with Tammin was over a Rash in DMs on Instagram.
Was that it? Was it the Rash?
That where we met? Because I feel like we met a few years ago. Maybe like from on the but it was really about a rash.
Was over a rash that Nat was. You guys bonded over, and I wake up and I look at my DMs, and there's a Rash conversation going back and forth. No other previous history, just rashes between you two.
I still don't even know what the rash is from. My husband's like, if you say it's bed bugs, people are gonna think you're a dirty person.
I really don't know. So good.
I really
Here's what happened. Of course, we actually have been following you for a long time, but what I did, like how to strike the conversation, you never know.
How to slide into a DM, right?
How to slide into your DM. You started talking about a rash. I had been experiencing a very bad rash. You were showing and talking about your rash, and I was like, dude, I live in Toronto, Canada, and I have the same rashes. Could you please investigate what the rash is? Because we're like in lockdown here. I can't get to a doctor, and it's just growing. I have so many questions for both of you. Especially to start.
So we're just gonna leave the rash at that.
Are we not gonna discuss the big elephant in the room here?
Did you ever find out what your rash was?
Listen, it could have been three things. The worst one it could have been is bed bugs, I think, because I'm like, that's just disgusting. what had happened is, we had been on a road trip around the States and because of COVID. So, we were distancing, doing an RV trip. And I feel like there was one place that we went was an Airbnb. No one was allowed to be in the Airbnb for like 2 weeks beforehand. And I feel like maybe that's what it was. That being said, it didn't bite my kids or my husband. So you would assume if it was something like that, it would be clothes or something else. It would be it would like a bed bug, which I've learned so much about bed bugs in the last month, more than I ever thought I'd ever want to know.
I got them when I was in Italy.
They're like I go, I can't see any bed bugs. People are like, turn on the light, make it really dark, and they sneak and hide. And don't great.
Don't do that.
Are they the same as crabs? Is that like crabs?
No, I don't have crabs. I definitely was not itchy, especially near my vagina. And so it wasn't that. And then they say chiggers or something. Well, other things can be itchy down there, but not crabs. And then they say chiggers, which is something that's in Texas because we just moved to Texas. So that's like a bug, or it could have been shingles from what is it? Measles from chickenpox.
But
stress.
Stress. So
what did you conclude?
She doesn't know.
I don't know.
Neither.
I just put a rash cream on it and they went away.
Too.
Yeah.
Well, I put a rash cream on it. It didn't go away, but then I just changed, like my life changed during that time and it went away. But about 2 nights ago, I started to get kind of itchy in my neck. I'm like, fuck no. Don't
it's a gluten rash, Natalie.
No, it's probably stress.
I haven't had gluten in 25 years.
Wow.
So
ladies.
Here she goes. Here goes bottle 3.
Let's hear it.
Here goes the 6th bottle of wine.
This is a 2-step question.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
We should not ask a million questions, so I'll just sit quiet.
No. Number 1, why is your podcast called Women on Top?
Wiki wow. I think it's a double meaning, right, Roxy?
Yeah,
do you remember tell them when I came over and we had like a glass of wine and we had 65 names to go.
Oh my
down.
God. We literally had 60. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like going down each one. It's like every incarnation of women you can think of, like women on the side, women on the bottom, like women over here,
women rock, women,
Oh my God.
Mommy Madness.
Yeah, Mommy Madness. We were going through and we were like, do we want, because there was also a time when we were thinking maybe we incorporate the mom in there.
Right.
But then we decided, you know what? We're going to go women. We're going to go women on top. It's a double meaning. Take it as you know.
Because who doesn't like? Well, I know you guys don't like it on the top, but some of us do.
A little dry hop, that never hurts.
You'll have to go listen to that podcast over on Women on Top to know exactly what we're talking about.
It was a good one, y'all. So from there we kind of decided. But you know what is so funny? We almost called our podcast "Winging It."
Yes, we did.
Remember that, Tammin? Remember?
Yes, we almost. And I think there's another show now, Winging It. It's funny because when we decided to do a podcast together, I just had my second child. And I was like, Roxy was in this phase where her child was 3.5 or 4. And so she was like living her best life. Like she has her one kid, 3.5, 4. The kid is the beautiful little Bray. Beautiful little Bray is in school, and I'm breastfeeding, and I'm just a complete mess. So the cover of our podcast is me breastfeeding and Roxy drinking like tequila, and she's got like a t-shirt that says "Family is Sacred," and I was like, and that to me is the epitome of our show and who we are.
How did you two meet? Like, how do you two know each other?
Ooh, we actually, you know what, Tammin, is so funny. Mm-hmm. You know what? You're gonna die. Actually, have never said this before.
I will die.
But I was going through my website, redcarpetroxy.com, because I'm also a red carpet host. You're gonna die. I went through because I think somehow like I was searching our names or whatever. I had interviewed you before on a red carpet.
Shut up.
Oh my God, you were secretly stalking. You knew.
I mean,
Imagine.
I guess I do.
Close.
And I was about this pregnant. I was like 8 months pregnant. It was like at a super Saturday.
Can you send
event.
that to me, please?
Yes.
That is
That's
juicy,
incredible.
you
And I love
guys.
that you're just
Juicy.
telling her this right now in this podcast.
Yeah, it seems
how
like a
did you
little
not discuss
freaky
this?
after 4
I
years.
like-
I feel like this is a little strange.
It's so crazy.
Because we like never really go into like how we met when we're talking to people.
No.
And I just like literally because it just popped up like last week. Like I
Right.
was just
So
like,
how'd you meet?
We actually met at school at
Yeah.
our kids'
Oh.
preschool in Los Angeles, and I remember, you know, there's something about me that that's why I feel like I connect with you guys. Is like for me, I just have no filter. Like what you see is what you get. I talk about all the
Love
things
it.
that are messy about, you know, everything, sex, family, relationships, kids. You know, there is no holding back because I feel like when you
Good.
do hold back, you make people feel more alone, not less
Yes.
alone.
Yeah.
You're so
So
right.
I was just like, there's no filter with me. And I met Roxy and I was just like the verbal diarrhea, which is probably like ADHD, which is probably that's my issue. But I just said to Roxy, like, I just talked to her ear off. And I feel like my sentences, she ended what I began. And then I thought this is the beginning of a wonderful friendship. And
Oh,
since
that was 4 years ago?
that was about 4
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And
Aw.
we've been
That's a
inseparable ever
beautiful
since.
love story. That is a
Isn't it
beautiful
beautiful?
love story.
And I didn't even make her dry hump me first.
I was about to say that.
mean-
That's why I know you're special. I knew you were going to say dry hump and I was going to bring that up, but I knew I was like, I'm going to wait Roxy to say that.
You know what? Every time you hear dry hump, drink. That
Oh
should
my
be the
God.
game.
Yes, yes.
Listen to this on a Friday night and
Isn't
drink.
it so crazy though when you feel like when you're so in touch with another girlfriend and you feel like you start a sentence and she can finish it, or you have a thought
Right.
and then she says it and you're like, that is so weird. I feel like we're so like on the same page when that happens.
You
And
know
then-
that a lot of women don't have that.
That's
which
what I
is
was just gonna say. It's not
You're
that
right.
frequent, you know. It's
No.
not that
No.
common.
I don't feel like I
I-
have a lot of girlfriends though. I think you guys do give me hope that I can have more friends.
And,
Okay,
but
I
Tammin,
actually
you're-
have a major question, and I hate this question, but I will ask it because a lot of people ask us if we fight, and we do
Oh.
because women
Hmm.
have this. I don't think they ask men if they fight ever, so I really
No.
do struggle with this question. But do you guys feel that you would ever have an argument, or do you,
'cause
or
We have.
you're a business partner.
you have?
I think we've had, well, I don't know if it's an argument. I think it's more of like
Discussion,
like Roxy goes a little passive aggressive and then I get a little needy. And I feel like that's probably our relationships in like life. So like if someone's mad at me, I get very needy. And then Roxy gets a little like, sure. And there's no exclamation marks. There's no.
Tammin, what does that look like when
What?
you're in like a disagreement and you're needy? What does that look like?
it's all over text, by the way, too.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course, it's
Why not?
never on the phone. Oh my
Yeah.
God, phone anxiety.
What does it look like? What do you say?
I wouldn't say my needy looks like desperation. My needy looks like a lot of years of therapy. So I will say things to my husband or Roxy or whatever. I'll be like, hey, I know that I could have been better in this. I would take full responsibility. I'm like, I feel that I could have done better in this situation. But if we look at the bigger picture, what I would appreciate next time is if we try to follow these solutions. So maybe people don't think that's needy, but for me, it's a way to diffuse the situation and be able to logically work through it. But normally, not with Roxy. Like I'd never blow my lid with Roxy, but I do blow my lid with my husband. And I can really, through years of therapy, I've been able to go, okay, I did something wrong. Like I'm much easier now to go, I need to apologize. I need to be vulnerable. I need to step into a place that doesn't feel good for me because I actually did something wrong. And I think it's really hard for people to do that. So my fights normally come from a logical side, which again, you can say is needy instead of just like backing off. But I feel like the only way to really connect is through real conversation.
And what about Roxy? How do you handle that?
Cheers.
I was waiting for that answer.
So I typically don't like confrontation. I'm sort of like one of those people. Now I do like confrontation with my husband. I will give everybody
Do you have
that.
sex after? Is that why? Do you have makeup sex?
No, I don't need
Okay.
makeup
You know,
sex.
some people like to fight and then have
Yes.
sex.
That's
is a
me.
thing.
That's
That's a
me.
Oh,
me.
Tammin,
Like, so I
of
see-
course
yeah.
it's you.
Oh, back to sex with
Oh,
Tammin.
Tammin.
Sex with Tammin.
My
Look
husband said to me the other day, he's like, I'm not rewarding this behavior with sex.
Makeup sex. Got it. Okay.
I was like, but I said sorry.
And he's like, let's do it.
No, but for me, it's more like I don't like confrontation. So like if I say like I'll say, we'll have like not even like Tammin, but like whoever it is, like it's a conversation over text, like the better not on the phone, the better, more not on the phone, the better. I should be more direct in that way, but I always try to offer up a secondary solution. Like if I don't just try to say no, like if I'm going to say no, I'll be like, but instead, can we maybe try this? Or I could do it
you
this
do
time.
that.
Right? Don't you think?
You
like
do.
I try to offer
But there's definitely no emojis.
no emojis. You're right.
The minute there's no
so you give
emojis
it
or
away,
exclamation
Yes.
mark, it's so
And then-
obvious.
Because I know, because we're almost like a married couple, Tammin and I.
Yeah.
Like I know she knows that the emojis are not there. That means there's something up.
Isn't that
Even
weird
if she
how
says sure, like if she says
You
sure,
know
I'm
on
like,
text,
oh fuck.
You can feel someone's energy on text, which is so, we have an employee right now who's so fired up about her job. And we haven't talked to her, but I can see it in her work on her text. Like, it's so insane. I'm like, wow, you are so excited about life. She's like, I really am. And I'm like, it shows. I don't know why. It's just so interesting. That's so crazy.
I've had to stop exclamation. Like, do you guys notice that? So I have a lot of men in my business, right? So a lot of deals that I do, a lot of stuff on the people who are like the producers and directors and whatever are males. 10% of gatekeeper positions are females. So more than likely, a lot of us are spending a lot of time in business around males. And I feel like when I email, I actually have to recheck my email and delete how many emails or X's or loves or song faces, which we have been taught to do as women, because we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable and safe and they feel, seen, whatever it is. So now it feels very strange to me to delete all those exclamation mark, but whatever punctuation marks, and to just be dry, because I feel like it comes across like I'm a bitch.
Oh
wow, we've got so much to work through as women. Oh my gosh,
who knew an emoji was not
God,
not
I am so short in my emails and I am so not apologetic.
That's amazing.
I have to follow up and be like, sorry, she meant to say hi.
Good afternoon.
Because
how's it going?
Because people are like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, Natalie, you did it again.
I know. See, you're trying to help her, and like for the collateral damage that she just caused.
Yeah,
I know. I feel like lately, while I don't have like kids on my hip and stuff, actually, this is one thing I do. I say, hey, their name, comma, and then I
that's new. There was no name before.
Just vomit. Like, you know what I mean? I don't sign it.
We don't sign it either.
I'm just like, here's what I need to know right now.
And we share an email.
Oh, you do? God, you guys share a lot. An email, social media,
the husband.
All right, Tim, and I have to ask one question. I know that both of you guys have daughters, and I know that because we have our teen and tween group, and we're reaching out to parents and experts, we know that this is such a hard place. And you said that
Roxy has a daughter too, so
yes,
this is hot on the heels, and you're both in Hollywood. Yes. So this conversation
Roxy,
is so prevalent.
You have talked, I remember looking at some stories that you post, and you say that you have been on TV since you were like, what did you say, 15?
Yeah. Wait, you said Roxy, you mean Tammin? You said Roxy. Okay, so Tammin.
We're on drink 5.
You had said in some stories that I remember you posting pictures of yourself. Yes. I know that your eating disorder and your anxiety is open to the public, which is so helpful. Thank goodness for that. And I remember girls saying, like, how did you end up losing all the weight? Like, what was your journey? What was your story? We have girls that are 12 and 11. We are heading into a space where I remember girls our age had the weight of mental health, and
they're our girls' age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also right now during the pandemic, the rise of hospitalizations from eating disorders and mental health is
it's a number one killer in young girls.
Yeah.
What can you tell us of what you learned about your experience and how you could give parents and mothers and women some insight to like how to handle all this shit?
I didn't speak about my eating disorder for the longest time because I felt so ashamed. I felt so ashamed of what I went through and my past. And then I don't know what happened. I think it was about a year and a half ago. And I knew that,
Only a year and a half ago.
it was about a year. It was about, it was just before Lennon. So maybe 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. I remember getting so many DMs from, I have a couple million on my platform, and a lot of them are younger because they watch Pretty Little Liars, and then they're moms. So I have like 50% moms, 50% younger girls. And I thought, if I don't say anything, some girl's gonna die.
Mhm.
And I was like, I have to say something. Like, at some point, it's your duty to talk about our secrets, because they can help other people feel less ashamed, and our secrets keep ourselves sick as well, right? So I wrote this post, and I didn't want to post it. I didn't want to post it. And I didn't want to post it. And I said, just fuck it. I'm just going to do it. And I posted it, and I was shocked at the thousands and thousands of people who came out, and the post went viral. Because I was actually an overweight kid first. I was 250 pounds when I was 13 years old. And I wrote a letter.
250 pounds at
Yes.
13? How long did 250 pounds last?
Not long. So I was 250 pounds at 13, and I wrote a letter to my 13-year-old self. And I wrote, "Dear Tammin." And the letter you can find online, and it really hit a chord. I was talking about what it felt like to be 250 pounds and to be teased. And my eating disorder started because I was so ashamed about the space that I took up. And so I stopped eating. And at 17 years old, at about 15, 16 years old, I stopped eating completely. And I got down to 100 pounds, about 99 pounds within 6 months.
Did you discuss about the fact that you went from 250 to that number, and what happened to yourself and your body during that time? How did you not die?
This is what's even more fucked up. I got cast on a TV show in Australia that was one of the leads on the show, and I did 110 magazine covers, but from when I was 16 to 20 years old, because I looked a certain way. I was the ingenue, right? I was the cute girl who was skinny and lovely, and so I thought, oh my God, I have to stay small. I have to be thin, because if I'm not thin, then I mean nothing, right? So when people ask, like, when did it stop? It stopped because if you want to stop any disorder, if you want to stop any addiction, you have to really either get to the bottom, you have to hit your bottom, or you have to want it enough to stop. You cannot tell your daughter, just get better. You can't tell yourself, just get better. That person has to want to stop. But what you can do is be the support that they can go to when they're scared and when they want to talk about it, because I didn't want to talk about it with anyone. So no one really, it's funny, no one really talked about it to me, but everyone knew I was dying in front of their eyes, but no one really knew what to say.
Did your parents watch you? Were they like,
everyone kind of knew. I mean, my parents said something, but they also didn't know what to say, because it was a totally different generation. Like, I look at my parents' generation, I look at now, oh my God, if Phoenix lost a few pounds, I'd be like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's like have a conversation. I don't think back then anyone even knew what to do. And also, my work didn't know what to do. They just were like, okay, well, this is a thin girl, and this is what happened. I would throw up 16, 20 times a day. Like, I was so ill. And I at some point I was hospitalized because I lost my stomach lining. So I was hospitalized for that. But at some point, I met my husband at 22 years old, and I met him.
22? How old was he?
He was 33. And I met him, and I was like, I don't want to feel sick anymore. Like, I hit my top. It wasn't that I hit my bottom, like I was on a feeding tube and I needed to like stop or I was going to die, which I would have probably, something bad would have happened. I just realized that I wanted a different life and I wanted to be happy again. And so the advice I would say, if you're dealing with a child who has an eating disorder, or if you're struggling with an eating disorder yourself, you have to evaluate your life and think, what do I want? Like, what do I manifest? Like, what do I want in my life? Do I want to be doing this for another 7 years? Do I want to be obsessed about food for another 7 years? Or do I want to laugh and go drinking with my friends and, have sex with my husband because I like my body?
Tammin, now that you're out of it, I was asking, because I actually don't know. Once someone recovers from a terrible, like a very intense eating disorder, does it always follow them, or are they free and clear? Is it something you battle? Is it like a drug addiction and you're like battle it every single day? Or is it something that you're clear and free once you finally overcome it?
I would say no, you never get rid of it.
Mm.
But for me, it's not the food. It kind of moves into different areas. So for me, it was never about the food. It was about feeling like I was worthy or if I was good enough. And what happened when I lost the weight, I had a very pivotal moment in my life where I got everything I wanted because I was thin, or so I thought. It was other things. Hopefully it was because I was talented. I don't know. But I equated that being thin was my worth. And so I have to struggle with my worth in different parts of my life. Am I a worthy mother? Am I a worthy wife? Am I worthy to be a friend, a good friend? Am I worthy in life? That's what it seeps into. It doesn't seep into, oh God, I had a glass of wine. That's 100 calories, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. And Roxy, what about, I mean, you guys are both in a pressure cooker of self-esteem and of, being a certain way. How do you feel about, having a daughter in this world?
I worry about it a lot, particularly because, living in Los Angeles, like we do, I work in entertainment, I'm a red carpet host, podcaster, I'm interviewing celebrities a lot, doing that whole thing. So we're around that a lot, which means my daughter is around that a lot. And it scares me to think that, she's 6 years old now, but like in 7 years or maybe even less was about the time. And Tammin and I have talked about this on Women on Top on our podcast, is that although my, my disordered eating was never as bad as Tammin's was, it was something that was present in my life, and you
did have a disordered eating.
Disordered eating. Yeah. So basically, not eating was the thing, eating like a rice cake one rice cake in the middle of the day, and then having maybe some vegetables or something at night. And again, I don't want to minimize what Tammin or other people have gone through that have had more of an issue with it, but, definitely disordered eating, but, body dysmorphia, looking at myself and just not being happy and thinking I was fat and the whole thing. And the more I think about that and about that time when it happened to me at like 13, 14, when those teenage years are happening and when puberty hits, I can't help but think about that for my daughter. And it like makes my mind go a little crazy thinking about, because as a mom, all you want to do is protect your kids and like not let them, experience pain and
totally
and those kinds of things. Right. And it's like, you can't. And I think that's also a big lesson in parenting that I've had to learn, is that you can't control everything. You can't control what their friends are saying to them at school, right? You can't control like another girl or another guy telling her, oh, you're a little fat or what have you. You can't.
Oh my God, Roxy, my daughter was in grade 4, and there was a letter that came from a boy at a school that she didn't go to that was relayed through another girl at her dance studio that said, "Hey Taylor, you're fat."
Are you kidding?
Could you die? Could you die?
Was it on social media or was it like
an actual physical thing, which was kind of crazy because that's so passe. But my daughter, I said to my daughter, do you think you're fat? And she goes, I'm not fat at all. She's like, these people are just rude. And I was like, please, Lord, make this stay with you.
Yes. You're doing something right then. You're doing something right.
Honestly, I think it's in herself. It's not even me.
Don't you think the world has to change though? Like our messaging that we are constantly blasted with daily is like thin is good and overweight is bad. And until, I was saying this to Sean, like I have an audition coming up. I think it's in 2 days. And it says like it's partial nudity, right? And the first thing I thought of was like, oh God, partial nudity. Oh shit. Like, what does that mean? What part of my body, what part of my body am I okay with? What part of my body am I not okay with? Do I like my butt? Do I not like my butt? All this like in my head. But then I thought like, if we saw on TV and film all bodies and all body shapes and mom bodies and sexy, like not see, I even did it just then. Sexy. What is sexy? Right. So if I saw a mom, a woman who's got a little more saggy skin or has got perkier boobs or bigger boobs or saggy, whatever it is, if we saw that, then we wouldn't even care about what is weight and what isn't weight. And I said that to Phoenix. How I teach her is I say, because she knows the word fat, she's 7 years old. She says, oh, what is fat? And I say, fat is just a thing. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. Like it's if we equate good, bad, this is sexy, this is not sexy, this is what men want, this is not what men want. That's the problem. That's what has to change. We need to see more of it. We need to see it in ads. We need to see it in TV.
Do you two think what's happening on social media is helping at all? Like, I feel like there's so much of it showing all the different body types.
Some of it.
Okay.
I mean,
so
it's
talk more about
a start. It's a start in the right direction because we follow, I know both Tammin and I follow like really body positive people who do show their cellulite and their.
Do you think that's helpful? Do you think that's going to make a difference?
I think it is because it opens the conversation, whether you like it or not. It puts it out there and it normalizes it in a way that it's not been out there before. And I think it's helpful because when you're, like Tammin was saying, when you're rammed down the throat with one certain body type, one body type, and that's the only thing that is acceptable or beautiful, then that is a problem. And so I think that it takes people who bravely show themselves as they are. And it's not even just about the physical appearance. They're really showing who they are, like as a person, inside. And that is brave and that's beautiful.
And they police the social media polices bodies a lot. And we had this woman, Danae Mercer, I think that's her last name, on our podcast this week. And she shows everything about, she's a beautiful girl and she's got cellulite, which again is still beautiful. And she shows that and she shows the way it moves. And she said that she has a TikTok account. I think she's got a couple million, whatever it is. And when she posts pictures of her cellulite, they get taken down because that many people flag it. The fact that there's cellulite and they do not want to see it. And so TikTok takes it down. And that is policing women's bodies. That means that when you see a sexy body where you can see her butt and like half of her vagina, some of these, I sometimes I see like I'm like, I can see your vagina.
Yeah, totally.
That is totally fine. And that is not taken down. And I think that there's a complete double standard and it's not okay. It's not okay for our girls.
The only thing that concerns me is I feel like right now, and I don't know the space. So for me to say I'm an expert in it is so wrong, is that I get concerned about it. It's all about the body. And even when we talk about body positivity, we put an emphasis on just their bodies. So women are now just their body. And listen, I think it's a beautiful thing that we can see all bodies and, it has to be in film and acting. And, we have to dissect it as parents and be like, this is not representative and we have to have conversations. But when I see my kids following, I would never want them to think that they're just their body, because a lot of the body positive accounts are just body, not I am strong, I am athletic, I am, smart, I am creative. And I don't know how many accounts there are that are really public that are like strong women who are like leaders in a space of
like they're leading and they're not talking about their body at all.
Yeah, just like are we as women, can we be more, because we have had a few eating disorder experts on here and they go, it's actually they don't know what causes eating disorders. They actually don't know what the triggers are. Like
we were like, is it us?
Is it society?
Is it the media? What is it? They were, because we, of course, as mothers, we're like, is there something we can
tell us what we can do?
Right.
Like, no. They were like, they don't know. If they knew, we could fix it. They go, sometimes it's the perfect storm. Sometimes it's events like the pandemic. Sometimes it's control. Sometimes it's, everyone has a different trigger and it happens to boys too. It's not just females.
And specifically we were asking that. We're like, because we know moms that are like, you have to like limit the sugar, limit the carbs, limit all of this. And we're like, does that make a girl have an eating disorder? And they're like, sometimes it's a girl who said, I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to be so restricted. And we're like, okay. We're like, what about the mom that just like gives all the junk food and all of that? They're like, not necessarily. Maybe that girl's more aware of what's going in her body. We're like, wow, this is complicated.
I know. Like, are you supposed to say, because my daughter's like, can I have more ice cream? And I say no. And I go, by saying no, is she now thinking that she's going to get
Yes.
overweight by
Right.
having it?
Yes.
But then I don't want her to have 4 bowls of ice cream like at
before bed.
Yeah, before bed. And what
Yeah.
so I let my kid have junk, but I restrict her junk. I do. And
Yeah.
it's not because I think she's going to get overweight. Although I do worry that, like, what if that happened and she get teased? But that's a whole nother conversation. But I do worry that it's because it's just not good for her health. But then you don't know.
Tammin, I appreciate that you were so open to say I do worry about that and her being bullied, because I think
Oh yeah,
that's such a conversation that so many moms don't even know that's a narrative in their head, and they probably police their daughters differently in a way than their sons, and they're not even aware of it.
Yeah,
so
they
the
don't
fact
even know why they don't want their daughter to be overweight, but really what they don't want is
I don't
her
want
to be bullied.
Yeah, I don't want my
Right.
daughter
Yeah.
to go through anything that I went through. When you say about social media, though, I almost feel like we need to have the conversation,
Yes, we
show
do.
the
Yes.
bodies, for then
You're
it
right.
to be a for it to just be moot,
non-conversation.
to just be
So
nothing. You know,
Yeah.
like
try
once
to-
we've had, once we've seen all the cellulite, once we've seen all the mom bods, once we've seen all
Yeah.
the stuff, then it's just like, oh, we've seen it all. It doesn't matter, and then we don't.
Yeah,
have to,
we appreciate the people who
Yep.
do it, and love that they're doing it. We just I often
I agree.
we try to post ourselves without talking about the fact that we're in a bathing suit. Like we try not to bring attention. We try to normalize that this is normal without having to draw attention to that this is normal.
Yeah.
Not that we're better. We just try to show ourselves in a way that isn't a movement. It's just so, because we have 7 children watching
Right.
us. Right. So
Yeah.
if we
Sorry.
if we
shut the fuck up.
if we pull it out, they're gonna be like, is there something like, wait, should I be concerned that I'm in a is it not normal for you to be in a
Because
bathing suit?
We're such a complicated place. It is so nice to know that we have like an alliance of women who feel exactly the same way, where we can support each other and send the same message, because we need, like, you guys are influencers, and other moms and women are watching you, and we're watching you, and people are watching us, and we need to continue the message that,
I'm like, where are you going, babe?
I'm just so thankful for a group of women like this, right? Who understand where we've come from and where we're going.
And we all have freaking daughters,
Well, that's what I was going
find
to ask you guys too, because it's like your guys' daughters, you guys are in that teen like age group
Girl.
now with your daughters.
Girl.
So like and it sounds like what you guys are doing is working, and like you're doing the right thing. So what do Tammin and I need to know?
Girls, here's what's really scary as a parent.
Trial and error.
Here's what's really scary as
no
a
one knows
parent.
what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
Why do I get like that? When I get really impassioned, I like, there's a growl that comes out.
I know what you're like in the bedroom, but
sit down and let me dry hump you. Poor guy. Oh my god,
take off your pants.
Yeah.
No, I think that we are very new into the teen and tween stage, and the older they get, the more control you lose and the more influence everyone else has on them. And we have 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. Let's be in a pandemic where they're not out all the time. So let's be really clear with that. And you just hope you've armed them with enough of an armor to deflect what's coming their way any moment, because it is one comment from one person who they have a crush on, who, a friend is like, oh, he would never date you. You're bigger than him. And then it's really not about, I think us as parents can do everything and be, like Tammin said, you're the safe place to just hear them and listen to them. And
Tammin, you have a huge teen following. No pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you do make
But
those
sharing your
decisions with
story.
but even like the brands that you align yourself with and the ads that you do, I've turned down money because I don't want to ever
That's right.
hurt somebody else. Not that the brands that I'm getting offered are like going to hurt people, but if it's just not the right message, I always make sure the brands that I ever work with are brands that have a social like
responsibility.
responsibility, or like they have a cause behind them, because I feel like we need to be doing that right now, and we need to be banding together with brands that want to change the world. Like,
and they're
like
there
we're trying
and
to
they
do.
want to do it.
And by the way, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I often have open conversations with my daughter about eating disorders, like just kind of what it is, what it looks like. You might have friends that, you know, this is what it is. And it's very confusing for her at this moment to understand why someone wouldn't eat. And it's very confusing to explain why that might be the reason.
Because our passion of food in our
is
huge.
But also,
So
I don't
good.
know their reason, and there could be a million different reasons. So, I mean, for any mom listening out there who's really, you know, confused by what is coming, what has happened, I think, you know, the things that you can take home is that, you know, to raise girls and boys. Let's just be honest. This is not a girl conversation. If you have sons, it is just as much a responsibility.
Speaking to our experts also, boys and eating disorders is on the rise.
But also just how they talk to girls and women. How do you talk to a girl? How do you
Instead
respect
of protect
them?
your girl, educate your boy.
Right. Yesterday I had to have the conversation with
many boys.
My son about
how many do you have? 3?
She's 3.
And you have
I have 1. But I have a very boisterous.
He's a very feminist man.
He's a big feminist, but
I love that.
I did, but he also, like, it's a long story, but I did have to tell him, you know, about toxic masculinity. And like, I even had to explain to him, you know, like, when your daddy walks behind women on a street, he needs to cross the street so he's not making them nervous when he's following behind them. You know, like, you got to always be aware of girls and women around, what you're making them feel. And he was so big. It's a big conversation for a 9-year-old, but I wanted to lay the groundwork.
Like, it's a big conversation for a 3.5-year-old. I'm like,
I just didn't want, I don't want it to be like a coming of the gods moment at like 15, being like, okay, did I ram all of this down your throat before you go and date someone? Just think, as moms, we're so out of control, but you can have conversations through life and moments all the time. That was my only point, you know?
And it's like finding those moments too, when it's like the right time, when they're receptive to it, right? Because you can talk into a wall all day long with these kids. You have to wait until that moment when they're curious about it and they want to know, you know, more about it, and they're open to it, right?
Life events are great.
It's not when they're like sitting there brushing their teeth and you just read like an article and you're like, so before you go to bed, let me just tell you
it was before he went to bed, Natalie.
I know, it makes me want to have a son.
I
know, it makes me want to. When I say the 3rd kid, I like always thought, you know, maybe I'd have one of each, but I don't know, maybe.
Well, you know what? I think it's just the conversation, because we all have audiences with boys and girls. It's
no,
not
but I
just
want a son.
Okay, well, we're back to this again. Back to 41, Tammin. It's this and back. Are we gonna get a text later?
Okay, you guys have to text. You guys have to tell me, should I have another kid?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you think so?
You both.
I feel like if there's a question, you should do it. Like, I didn't care when I had my 4th. I didn't care what it was. Although my mom is a wee bit psychic, so I had my daughter, and then I had 2 boys, and she goes, "You could have 25 more children. They will all be boys."
Oh God!
She goes, "Are you okay with it being a boy?" I'm like, "Yes, I only want."
Can you ask her? Will Tammin have? You show me my picture.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, will Tammin have another baby, and will she have? Just show her my social media page. Will she have a boy?
I think that if you don't have a boy, 3 girls is such a fucking tribe. Like, I'm
gonna have 3 girls because my husband has girl sperm. I swear.
Just don't have sex every day. Give him a break and then let it build up for a month. And then
that's impossible.
Don't have sex every day, guys. It's twice a week. I would like it more. It's twice a week. I would
have sex 4 times a week, and then let him not be protected on the like 5th day. And that would.
But then I have to lie to him.
Yeah, that's fine.
Roxy, did you want a boy or a girl? What did you want?
You know, because so we were not planning on having kids, right? So we were like, okay, like, we're having this life and we're traveling in the whole bit.
Yeah, right.
But it was funny when we got pregnant, I could have sworn that I was having a boy.
Same.
I was like, right? I was like, I'm having a boy. It's 100%. Like, I know, like, I don't even have to do the test. And then we got the test back, and I was like, wow, we're having a girl. Like, this totally blew my mind. Like, I was just like, how is this happening? Like, what? And then I called my husband on the phone and he was like, really? I think we both were so like convinced it was going to be a boy that it was like totally different. And, I think too, I sort of went through that whole thing in my mind about like, cause you hear I know I was awful to my mom and my teenagers. I was a fucking bitch.
So were we.
Fucking
And
bitch,
we're so
right?
close.
Yes, so close now. And I just think about the torture I put her through, and I'm like,
we did.
I'm like, oh God.
Once I threw a shoe at her.
Oh, Natalie.
What?
And lied to
Too
her about a
afraid.
tattoo.
I was like, no.
Oh my God. No, I was awful. Would sneak out of the house, like the whole bit. And I would tell her I hated her, like the whole bit.
Yes.
Oh my God, I never.
Never? Oh my God, Tammin.
That's nice for your mom.
Yeah,
No, not that I didn't feel that, but like because
Guys.
I was working so young, I would just lie. I'd be like, okay, Mom, I'm staying on set till 9 o'clock.
I was going to say, you can.
And then at 6 o'clock, I was at my boyfriend's house, dry humping him.
Stuck with our parents, living with them.
Yeah, I was like living my life. So I'd come home at 9, like all rashed up or whatever. And my mom wouldn't be able to know because it was like, I don't know, was I kissing on set? Like, did I get a rash from the makeup? She didn't know.
It was
so
like
I just
crabs,
be like,
whatever.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm coming home
Crabs
at 9.
and hickeys. What is that?
Crabs and
Makeup,
hickeys.
Mom. I was doing that.
Mom,
on
I
set.
was doing a scene, a hickey scene, okay?
Okay, I'm dying right now. Natalie has
my
4
kids
children
are
are
upstairs,
screaming.
blowing their minds. Like my husband should. What time is it?
It's not. I don't.
All of them should
Are
be
they
in bed. They're
dying?
School tomorrow.
No,
They are
well, she's
going-
being very calm, and I'm like, I can
they're
hear
screaming
and crying, and
they
they're
are.
like, you're
Oh my
lying,
God.
lying.
And then they're gonna start fuck youing.
We have
I
no,
know.
because I was like, gonna try to find a time where we didn't have children, so we're like, let's go to Nat's
No,
house
they're going
because
buck
Daddy's
wild.
here, and they're
Oh, mine's
crazier than I
crying now
think.
too. Mine's crying
Oh
now too.
my God.
I
Okay,
was kind of
guys.
hoping that
here's-
when we ended this, they'd all be in fucking bed.
Okay,
but
here's
no.
what we're gonna do.
I know. I was like, why is she not in bed? She's 2. Go to
right?
bed.
Obviously,
Mine
this
is
is
By the
go to
way, if I was
bed.
in charge of the kids would all be in bed right now.
Quiet,
My
watching
husband-
with-
Oh,
No.
yeah, forget it. Oh, I'd come home like from work events, like back pre-COVID. My daughter would be cruising around the
know.
house
I'm
at
like,
10 p.m.
yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Did you not put her down? And he's like,
Oh, she does.
just
Yeah.
watched-
And then I always hear like,
just
oh, she
watched
just
a
wants
fucking
5
movie.
more minutes.
Yeah,
And I'm
my-
like,
Damn it.
my rule is 8:30. Like your covers are on your body.
Yes.
I
Oh.
might tell you a quick fake story, but I might
You
not.
can
but you're
read.
in your bed.
yes.
Okay,
yes, like,
ladies.
hard.
We're gonna wrap this up because we all have kids who are screaming and yelling. But this is
Most
just
of mine.
this is just the beginning.
Yes.
Well, my daughter lost her
wait.
first tooth today, and they can't
What?
find the tooth.
Oh,
Yes, they're
no.
like,
that happened to
I'm-
us too.
I'm literally getting that.
Oh.
Look, I got 911,
See, I don't even know
911.
you. I don't
It was
even know
during
you.
this.
During
Nine-
this.
911, 911.
Oh
And
my
so I'm like, the tooth, I think I put it by the stove. So I'm having like a
I know,
panic
I
attack.
like
I hope you have
Jesus.
cash. I hope you have cash.
Oh,
Oh.
my kids get like $100 US bill. It's the only cash we
What?
have.
Damn,
She
girl,
doesn't-
make it
she's
rain.
rich.
Make it rain.
What's
Guys, this is so much fun. I feel like we hung out all night long.
No.
I just want to do it.
We did.
across from a table with you
Yeah.
with like a dirty martini.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us everywhere that our audience can find you.
Women on Top official on Instagram, and my Instagram is at Tammin Sursok, and my blog is Bottle and Heels.
And we are Women on Top podcast on Facebook, and we have a Women on Top group on Clubhouse as well. And mine is my handle is at Red Carpet Roxy with a Y, and my website is redcarpetroxy.com.
Hey, Tammin, for the crowd, how many cocktails did you have during our 2 podcasts? Just so we can see that you're
So
still
I've
standing.
had 1.5.
Okay.
Yes.
1.5. Oh, I want to tell you guys because I never even talked about this, but my husband and I wrote a movie together, and it's actually on Amazon right now. It's called Breaking for
What?
Whales, and it's
What's
we
it
actually
called?
wrote a TV show, and I directed it, and it comes out soon. It might be where you guys are. It's called Aussie Girl. That comes out in a couple months, but it's called Breaking for Whales. It's on Amazon and Hulu. We wrote it together. He directed it. I'm in it with Tom Felton from Harry Potter, and we wrote it just before our wedding, and it finally has come to. I always forget about it because it's been so long, but it's like a love story to us. It's funny. It's dark. It's funny, but it took us a while to get it out there. So it's out on Amazon.
Well,
called
who
Breaking
knew
for
we would
Whales.
go from dry humping to movie writing to, deep topics, but that's how we love it. You ladies, Roxy and Tammin, thank you for joining us.
Thank
You
you.
were a total pleasure.
This was a
we-
perfect girls' night out.
It
Yes,
really
it
was.
I
It
believe
was.
you guys filled my buckets, and we're gonna do it in real life when we come to where you live. Because
Yes.
don't you dare come here.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
We
Thank
love
you.
you.
Love you more. Bye, guys.